Today's lesson is topic writing, how to express your opinion. Hi, everybody. My name is Roger.
And I'm Hanny.
And today, Hanny and myself are going to be covering the topic writing unit for the month of May. It's actually the last day of May. It's June tomorrow. Do you have any plans for the summer, Hanny?
Maybe I'm going abroad.
Yeah, maybe you're going abroad to get away from the terrible traffic in Taiwan, right?
Right, that's right.
Exactly.
That's our topic.
That's our topic for today, indeed. And, of course, a lot of people do have complaints about the traffic in Taiwan. And that's our subject for this month's edition of Topic Writing. And, of course, this is how you express an opinion. So if you're writing an article or an essay talking about your opinion regarding a certain topic, well, that's what we're going to do today. We're going to express our opinion about traffic in Taiwan, especially regarding pedestrians. And that, of course, refers to people who are walking. Do you think it's dangerous for pedestrians here in Taiwan?
Oh, definitely.
Exactly. So, yes, indeed, our writer here has had many experiences in this regard. And again, that's our topic for today.
好，我们这个月的主题写作呢，是要练习清楚表达自己的看法。当我们要针对一个议题来撰写表达意见的文章时，一定要先清楚了解那个议题它的主旨，不能搞错方向哦。那掌握主旨之后呢，就可以先简单扼要的说明要探讨的议题啊，或者是现象，然后再清楚的陈述自己的论点。最好是可以把你亲身经历加进去，或者是举例说明来增加说服力。好，那像我们今天呢，关于这个议题就是台湾的交通对行人而言简直像地狱。那这样的看法你同意吗？你认不认同呢？我们就要根据自身的经验来写一篇文章。那我们现在就来练习吧。
Okay, so in the first part of our lesson, we're asking you to sort of think this topic over before you actually start writing. You might want to think about your own experiences. So here we've got some examples. For example, when crossing the street at intersections, I've often nearly been hit by cars and scooters making right turns. So this sort of introduces the topic to us. It tells us that it's kind of dangerous for pedestrians out there, and the writer here is expressing his or her opinion on this topic. Yeah, I've nearly been hit by cars and scooters, so indeed, this is an important thing to talk about.
好，那我现在要写这篇文章呢，我们可以把第一段先来描述你自己作为行人交通的经验，然后说明呢造成这些交通状况可能的原因，而第二段呢，我们来提出建议或者是可能的解决方法。那我们在下笔之前呢，你就可以先想想看自己曾经遇过哪些交通经验是糟糕的，还是可以接受的情况呢？像是有可能是你在十字路口过马路的时候，常常被那种右转的汽车或机车差一点就被他们撞到，或者是呢，你可能走在人行道上面停满了机车啊，有时候他们要这样子往前骑，要停车的时候，他还会叭叭叭，就是叫你让开一点，这样。像这些经验都可以把它想一想，看怎么把它整理写出来。
Right, you could also say, I've been honked at by scooter drivers when I'm walking on the sidewalk. Of course, honking is, as Hanny just described, beep, 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 or honk, 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 as we say in English. And indeed, that does seem kind of 过分 there, too much. If you're walking on the sidewalk and you have to get out of the way for a scooter, that's just too much. Scooters aren't supposed to be on the sidewalk, they're supposed to be in the street.
没错，机车就是要骑在路上，怎么会在人行道上呢？好，那我们接着就准备要来练习写作，从我们第一段开始。那我们就会用这个最近 CNN 的报道来作为一个引言，引出说我们要探讨这样的台湾的交通状况。这样，好，那我们先来看看课文范例。
Okay, so here's our article for today. It says a recent CNN article calling Taiwan's traffic a living hell, especially for pedestrians, has caught people's attention and provokes lots of discussion. So, of course, CNN is a news company overseas, and so they probably came to Taiwan to visit, and they were quite shocked at the conditions regarding Taiwan's traffic. People in Taiwan probably think it's nothing strange. It's how we get around, you know. There's nothing unusual about it. But, of course, CNN is not based in Taiwan, so they come here and they see the traffic, and they compare it to other countries, and they've described it as a living hell. It's probably not like the traffic, say, in Japan or in Singapore or places like that. Here in Taiwan, in comparison with the rest of the world, it is a living hell. It's like going to hell and being punished for sinning.
好，那我们现在看看课文范例，他就提到说，最近 CNN 有一篇文章称台湾的交通为活生生的地狱 ，a living hell。尤其是对行人而言啊，这就引起大家关注，然后还激起很多讨论。所以我们这边用这样的报道来作为引言。好，那接着呢，我们就要去说明自己碰到的糟糕交通经验。你中间可能会加一句说，就我个人而言，我很认同这样的话，或是就我个人而言，我不太接受这样的看法，就先表达自己的立场，然后你接着再去阐述说自己碰到一些交通经验。那我们先来看看课文范例他怎么提到。
Yep, indeed. If you're going to express your own opinion, you can say personally or in my opinion when crossing the street at intersections. I've often nearly been hit by cars and scooters making right turns. More ridiculous still, I've even had scooter drivers honk at me to move when I'm walking on the sidewalk. And these, of course, are some points we just covered here. And yes, indeed, cars and scooters do try to make right turns when pedestrians are trying to cross the street. And it can be dangerous for pedestrians, especially if those scooter drivers and those drivers of cars are in a big hurry. Sometimes they just don't want to be bothered by pedestrians crossing the street. Get out of my way. I'm in a hurry. I've got to get to work.
好，所以像这样你就可以写说就我个人而言呢，就是在十字路口过马路的时候，常常差一点被右转的汽机车撞到，就我们刚刚先前讲的啊，或者是在人行道上还被机车骑士按喇叭叫你让开这样。好，那我们再换一个写法写写看，也许你的交通经验是不一样的，也许是说在过马路的时候常常发现这个车子它是会挡住行人穿越道的，或者说这个人行道上呢停满了机车，那逼的人就没有办法在这边行走，只能在马路的边缘走，这样不是更危险吗？那你也可以写写看这样的经验。我们请 Roger 老师告诉我们可以怎么写。
And here is an alternative answer. For example, I often find cars blocking the crosswalk when I'm trying to cross the street, while sidewalks filled with parked scooters sometimes force me to walk on the edge of the road. I think we've all had that experience, especially in a crowded city like Taipei. People got to park their scooters somewhere. They've got to go to school and to work. And if they cause inconvenience for pedestrians, well, that's just too bad. And indeed, sometimes the sidewalk is filled with scooters and we have no choice but to walk in the street.
好，那我们现在讲完自己的经验，我们去分析看看这可能的原因。What makes drivers so rude？ 那我们来看看课文范文怎么写。
Okay, so that's the question. Yeah, why are drivers so rude? What is the cause? Why are they so rude? What makes them so rude? Well, in my opinion, I think it's simply a lack of respect for pedestrians and the thought that they'll get away with such behavior as long as nobody gets hurt. So that's why the writer here thinks that scooters and drivers are that way. They just don't have respect for pedestrians. You guys are walking, you're too poor, you can't afford scooters or cars. So yeah, we don't have any respect for you. You're low-life people, so we can go ahead of you. That's no problem. We have the priority here. You guys are just going to have to wait. And, you know, if I hit you and nobody catches me, then that's not my problem.
应该不是说行人就低一等吧，只是说我们这边讲说驾驶会这么无理呢，其实是缺乏对行人尊重，也就是缺乏对他人的尊重。你如果有想到他人的话，你就不会这么做了嘛。好，那这边课文范例他还写说，认为只要没有人受伤，他们就可以逍遥法外这样。好，那这边就是要去提出可能的原因，去分析为什么会有这样的交通状况。好，那我们换一个写法写写看，也许呢你的想法是说这些人就是自私，你就说我觉得最根本的问题就是自私，因为驾驶人他们只想要快一点到目的地，那他们也贪图方便呢，就任意的停车，也不管会不会挡到人，因此呢他们也其实不在乎他们的行为会不会影响到行人这样子。那我们请 Roger 老师告诉我们这个换一个写法可以怎么写。
And here is an alternative answer. The fundamental problem, I think, is selfishness. Drivers simply want to reach their destination sooner or park wherever is most convenient lenient, so they don't really care how their actions affect pedestrians. So again, this is another alternative answer you might consider, some more information you might provide in your essay. Yeah, you might think that these scooter riders or these scooter drivers are just selfish, okay? It's because of selfishness. They just want to find a place to park. They're in a hurry to get to work or school, and they don't really care if it affects pedestrians. That's their problem.
好，那么现在看完第一段，我们接着要进入第二段的练习。那我们就要试着去提出建议或者是可能的解决方法。那我们先看看课文它怎么写。
Okay, so this is the second part here, and you could go on to say, first, all road users, both drivers and pedestrians, should respect each other. Drivers should yield to pedestrians, and pedestrians should pay attention and stop looking at their phones when crossing the street. Now, in the first part of our lesson for today, we talked about introducing the actual topic of traffic here and rude scooter drivers and car drivers and how they lack respect for pedestrians. So here we are looking for a solution to this problem. So our writer says, yeah, the pedestrians and the drivers should respect each other. And then the pedestrians also need to pay attention and stop looking at their phones when crossing the street. I have noticed that a lot of times pedestrians just start crossing the street without looking both ways. When I was a kid, my mother told me, look both ways before you cross the street. So yeah, you're supposed to look out for your own safety, and if you're staring at your phone, you're not really too concerned about your own safety, and that's almost like committing suicide.
没错。好，我们先来看看我刚刚在说这提出有可能的原因，那我们一个写法就是写到说是缺乏对行人的尊重嘛，所以我们这边在提出建议或可能解决方法时呢，我们一开始可以去表达说，首先呢，用路人其实不管是驾驶人或是行人，都是应该要互相尊重的，也不能因为你觉得好像行人最大就任意穿越马路，或者是过马路还低头族这样子一直看手机都不看路，这样也会造成自己的生命危险，也会造成别人的危险，好吗？所以这边呢，我们是在讲说应该要互相尊重，就是驾驶人要礼让行人，那么行人在过马路的时候也要特别留意，然后呢要不看手机，这样才安全，好吗？好，那另外呢，如果我们是以刚刚这个以自私为出发点的这个写法呢，那也许你可以写说，要解决这个问题啊，行人就必须去表达立场，然后就是反对这些违规停车啊、乱开车的行为，然后我们要求主张自己行人的权利，就是我们自己的行人的路权啊，还有这个人行道的空间都不需要让给这些没有礼貌的驾驶人。好，那我们看看，换你写写看这边 Roger 老师我们可以怎么写呢？
And here is our alternative answer. To fix this, to repair this, pedestrians need to take a stand against bad driving. You've got to speak out against people who drive rudely. And you also need to take a stand against people who park their vehicles anywhere they want to. And you need to demand your rights by not yielding the right of way or sidewalk space to rude vehicle users. You got to tell them, get the heck off the sidewalk. This is for pedestrians here. Didn't your mama raise you correctly?
好，那我们今天当然就是要讲说要 take a stand， 我们补充一下，就是站出来去表达自己立场的那种意思。好，那么接下来这个第二段落的这个后半部的文章部分呢，我们就可以去写说可以怎么解决，也许可以建议政府可以做什么，或者加强它一些措施之类的。那我们来看看课文怎么说。
Okay, so second here, although the government has already raised fines for drivers who don't yield to pedestrians, they can do more by better taking pedestrians into consideration when designing roads in the future. So the government is already concerned about pedestrians. They have raised fines for drivers who don't yield to pedestrians. You could get in trouble if you don't let the pedestrians go first. But also, they should take pedestrians into consideration. They should think about those pedestrians when they design roads in the future.
好，我们今天看到他是写说，其次虽然这个政府已经对不礼让行人的驾驶提高罚款了，但是其实政府还可以做更多嘛，在将来在设计道路的时候，可以多加考虑行人，以行人为出发点，或者是在设计一些交通规则的时候呢，也可以先把行人纳入考量。好，那我们接着来看看换一个写法，也许你可以说，政府应该要更积极的去惩处那些违规停车、违规驾驶的问题，因为驾驶人他们好像我们刚刚说这个自 自私的部分嘛，那也许他们就会为了保护自己的利益，为了利己不要被罚款，然后他们就会稍微改变他们的行为。所以呢，我们这边就是用自私自利这个为出发点，在利己的情况下，也许驾驶人会做出改变。好，那我们补充一下，你可以用 self-interest 中间有加一个连字号， self-interest 可以表达利私利己的那种意思。那我们请 Roger 老师告诉我们，换你写写看可以怎么说。
And here is our alternative answer. In addition, the government should punish parking and driving violations much more aggressively. They should do more to punish those drivers who cause problems for pedestrians. Because, or since, it seems that vehicle users will only change their behavior to protect their own self-interests. So yeah, you gotta get them where it hurts, okay? If you punish them for doing these things, maybe they'll think twice next time.
好，那我们最后就要写结论咯，要去重申你的论点，说明这个改变的重要性，然后去改善台湾这个用路人行人的用路安全。好，那我们看看课文怎么写。
And of course, this is the conclusion to our article. By taking these simple steps, by doing these things, we can make Taiwan a safer place for pedestrians in the future, and then CNN won't dare write such an offensive article again.
没错，那这样CNN的报道可能之后就会比较正向了，对不对？如果我们可以借由这些简单的措施，让台湾成为对行人更安全的地方，不是很好吗？好，那我们换一个写法，也许你可以说，有了这些基本的改变呢，我们就可以让台湾的行人，不管只是在上学途中啊，或者是上班途中，这个路就会更好走、更顺喽、更安全了。好，那我们看看还可以怎么写这个结论。
And here's an alternative answer to your conclusion. With these basic changes, if we take them into consideration, we could make a walk to school or work much nicer for Taiwan's pedestrians. Indeed, it will be a heaven on earth for people who want to walk to school or work. Okay, let's move on now to part 2 with the actual article here, and it's entitled, Let's Fix Taiwan's Terrible Traffic. Okay, I think we all know that traffic is a problem, and people are discussing this problem because there was an article recently published by CNN, and they were criticizing the traffic in Taiwan, and maybe we agree, yes, something should be done about the traffic here. And of course, we're talking about this article which called Taiwan's traffic a living hell, especially for pedestrians, and it's provoked lots of discussion. Here, the word to provoke means to cause something to happen, usually something negative, like if you say mean things to a person and they decide to hit you, then we could say you provoked that person. You did something to cause them to hit you back.
好，我们现在看到我们这边课文标题是 Let's fix Taiwan's terrible traffic， 这就点出了，就是说你的立场就知道说台湾的交通状况是糟的，也就是符合这个报道的内容。好，那么一开始就有提到说这个议题呢引起很多讨论，它用到 provoke 这个动词就表示引起、激起或是刺激的意思。
Okay, so the article goes on. The writer here says, Personally, I know that the article's description of Taiwan's traffic is accurate, even though I don't like to read things when foreigners criticize us here in Taiwan, but I do have to admit that the traffic is terrible, and we've got some examples here. If you cross the street at intersections, you might be hit by cars and scooters who make right turns. An intersection, of course, is where roads cross each other. Sometimes we call this a crossroads, but here it's an intersection, like the intersection of Heping, Donglu, and Jilonglu. That can be quite dangerous for pedestrians there. Okay, to move on now, the writer gives his or her opinion. More ridiculous still, I've even had scooter drivers honk at me to move when I'm walking on the sidewalk. And we have to ask this question, why are drivers exceptionally rude? Exceptionally here means especially rude. Why are they so very rude? Well, I think it's simply a lack of respect for pedestrians and the thought that they'll get away with such behavior as long as nobody gets hurt and as long as they don't get caught.
好，那我们看到这个段落在结束之前呢，有用到一个 exceptionally。好，我们知道 exception 它其实指例外的人事物，当我们说 be no exception 就可以表达也不例外的那种意思。好，那在我们看到它用到 exceptionally 就变成副词了，去表达说特别怎么样、非常或者是例外的。再有一个片语叫做 get away with 什么什么，它是表达说可能做了不好的事情之后不受惩罚，没有被发现。我们用 get away 它可以表达离开远去，只是在 在这边呢，它是表达你可能做了坏事错事，可是没有受到惩罚或批评而逃之夭夭逃走的感觉，所以你用 get away with 加上名词或动名词就可以表达出做了坏事之后逃过惩罚的语义咯。
Okay, so here's the next paragraph. So how can we make the daily commutes of pedestrians less dangerous? Your commute, of course, is the process of going to and from work. Yeah, how can it be safer? Well, the writer says it's critical for road users, drivers, and pedestrians to respect each other, and drivers should yield to pedestrians. You should let them go first, but pedestrians should pay attention and stop looking at their phones when crossing the street. They do need to pay attention and be more responsible for their own safety. And second, although the government has already raised fines for drivers who don't yield to pedestrians, they can do more by better taking pedestrians into consideration when designing roads in the future. In other words, if you're going to build new roads, take into consideration the fact that there are going to be people walking there and they need to be safe. So by taking these simple steps, we can make Taiwan a safer place for pedestrians, and CNN won't write a bad article about Taiwan ever again.
好，那我们看到这个段落里面有用到 commute 这个字，注意一下它可以当名词或动词去表达通勤、上下班往返的意思。还有呢，这边看到它用到 take something into consideration， 这个用语是表达把某事列入考虑，其实就相当于 take something into account， 这是一样的。好，再来呢，还有用到 taking these simple steps， 我们用 take steps 就可以表达去采取措施、采取步骤、去行动、去做某事的意思。好，那我们这边的范例文章就看完咯。
And that brings us to the end of this month's edition of Topic Writing, and maybe you can write a similar essay to the one that we introduced you to today. Thank you for joining us, and from all of us here at All+ Interactive English, my name is Roger.
And I'm Penny.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.